And then we'll
Go
see.
for it.
Okie dokie, I think we are live. So, hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for clicking on my video today. My name is Gloria, as usual, and today I'm going to be with my guest Tolu. I'm going to try. Sorry, I'm going to try not to pronounce the last name. He would pronounce the last name very well for you. But let me tell you a little bit about Tolu. So Tolu actually came to Canada about 12 years ago. And he came to this country as an international student, just as I did. Um, After he completed his undergrad and master's, so his MBA, he had found a fit in product management. And today, as we speak, he runs the mobile division as his product manager at Sportsnet,
Exactly.
Canada's biggest sports broadcaster. He's going to talk more about that. So if when Tolu is not working, his hobbies include enjoyment, like enjoyment, guys. You need to tell us what that means. And then
Sure.
chasing sunshine, you need to explain that as
Mhm.
well.
Sure.
Storytelling, podcasting, sports. I know he loves sports. Watching political, whatever it is.
Satire. Yep.
Yeah, and he's a huge advocate for self-development through mentorship, volunteering, and networking. So, Tolu, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you on my channel. It really meant a lot to me when you said no problem. So, thank you. First and foremost, my subscribers would like to know who you are. So, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Tolu Arogumati, so that's the part that difficult there. So I am in Canada. I've been here 12 years now. So this is year 13 that I'm going into this August. As you know, we've already shared. I work at Sportsnet. I run the mobile division there. I'm the product manager, so I run everything across iOS, Android, iPad, and everything in that nature. In terms of enjoyment is a lifestyle. I think you need to find a way to almost like romanticize your life, and I think enjoyment is that. I think you need to fall in love with the story you are writing. You need to fall in love with who you are and who you are becoming, and I think that's what enjoyment is all about, really. Chasing sunshine, I really discovered. I think not until I left Nigeria did I realize how much the sun itself is a huge energizer for all of us who are black, especially. So I'm always looking out for sunshine. I'm always outside. I'm like, where's the sun today, and things like that. And if I go on vacation, I one of the first things I look for is how much sunshine does that area actually get. Being in Canada, you don't have enough sunshine. That's just one
No.
perspective. So that's where that chasing sunshine is. But yeah, I certainly love enjoyment travel. You can find me enjoying my life as much as I can and falling in love with it day after day. So that's kind of what that's about, really.
Yeah. And what's that particular sport that you're into?
I'm actually into a lot of them. So I personally like soccer because obviously that's what we grew up on. So football. That's just, because I know in Nigeria are going to say it's football. I also now watch American football. I watch hockey. I watch baseball. I watch basketball, in part because obviously I'm running the sports division, the mobile division at the sports company. So it's important to know all of them. But my primary one still remains, football, soccer. I play fantasy as well. I'm one of the best in the world at playing
Okay.
fantasy. So that's still my primary one, but I've
Yeah.
now gone into other areas as well because I need to learn about it and create a good experience for people there. So
Sounds
yeah.
good. So we want to really know who Tolu is, and you probably would like to share your information about moving from the best country in the world, Nigeria. Don't tell anyone I said that on TV.
Okay.
So I've got a couple of questions for you, and
Please.
the first one is: of all the countries of the world, why did you choose Canada?
Okay, so the honest truth is I didn't even choose Canada. Canada was chosen for me. Um, so initially when I was finishing undergrad, I was trying to leave Nigeria. I felt at the time Covenant was pretty much the best option. But at the time I hadn't heard good reviews about Covenant at that time. And I certainly didn't want to stay in Nigeria as a result. So I applied to a bunch of schools in Ghana. I also discovered this tiny little country in the world called New Zealand. And for whatever reason, I really thought I was going to find a way to get to New Zealand. I was just like, I don't know where this is. It looks so beautiful in encyclopedia. And so I was very excited to go and find it. And so I told my parents about how I wanted to travel to all these places. I was applying to Ghana. And so my parents were super excited about that prospect of, okay, well, if this boy is serious about going abroad and he's done all this work, I like, applied, they didn't even tell me anything. I saved all my money, pocket money. I'm like, I'm going to apply to all these places. And so my parents were like, okay, well, this boy is certainly keen on traveling. He's also done everything we've asked of him from a school perspective. So I was always, acing things in school. So there was really no reservation. And for the most part, first child, so you end up being responsible for yourself and others. So from their own perspective, responsible again at the time. I'll put the caveat at the time, and I'll get back to that later on. Doing well in school, and I already had the excitement to try something else. So my parents asked around, and my aunt at the time had just sent her own child to Canada. And so my parents came back and spoke to me about, okay, well, you're pretty keen on going abroad, and we heard so many good things about Canada. What do you think? And I was like, I don't know. Again, this when I looked it up, seemed like a peaceful place. Peace index seemed to make sense. So I was like, sure, let's go do it. I will work in technology. It's close enough to America. Why not? So that was kind of how Canada was chosen for me, more than me being like, no, I want to go to Canada. And at that time, Canada wasn't that big a deal. Nobody, it wasn't Canada in Jesus' name at that time. So it was, so that was kind of how Canada got chosen for me, because my aunt had already sent my cousin here. And so that's kind of how Canada came into my life, pretty much.
That's good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask that question yet, but why did you leave Nigeria? I'll come back to that other question, but why did you leave Nigeria?
So at the time, I felt like I had the opportunity to be something. I was one of those children that didn't need a lot of studying to ace things. And my parents always had this belief, in me, in part, and also I had at the time, if you think I'm confident now, you need to see, I've seen me when I was a young person, like it was borderline arrogance, because I would play in school and also get all A's. Like it was a joke to be in school. And so my parents felt like there was an opportunity for me to be great, and Nigeria didn't have the potential to match what I was trying to do. And I always felt like at the time too, that all the other people I was seeing do great things in the West, the Americas, the UKs, I felt like I could do it, because there was nothing in my life at that point that I hadn't been able to overcome. Like there was nothing that was so hard. I had written Cambridge at that time. I had written WIC, and to me, they were all like I did not need to study. And I remember even like when I was in school, like there's some teachers who were like concerned that I wouldn't pass WIC, and I was just like, see, I'm telling you, there's absolutely no chance I am not going to ace this thing. I'm telling you like this is not, I'm going to pass. I'm telling you, I'm going to ace this thing. It's not just a matter of whether I want to ace all of them or just the ones I like. And so at that time, they already understood that, okay, this one, let's give him the best chance, I guess. So that was part of why I left Nigeria, because Nigeria just wasn't doing it at that time. And so my parents, thankfully gave me a chance to be here, and, they have no regrets now. So that's kind of part of what it was.
Okay. This one, the question is, how was study for you as an international student? I know it was crazy for me, tough, and I've talked about this on my channel a lot of times, but how was that for you?
How was what? Sorry, I didn't. The first question.
Study as an international student.
Studying.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is where my story started to change. So if you remember, I'd already talked about how like I hadn't ever struggled in school, ever. And so I come here, and first year was like a joke still. So in my mind, I've already built up this habit now of I don't need to study.
Yeah.
But then some courses started to become difficult. So software engineering specifically. And because I'd never written code before, it was a very strange concept. If you give me math, further maths, advanced anything, advanced functions, because I already knew what it was. But for the first time, someone was writing if statements and while statements. And I was like, and you have to indent. And I was like, what is all this? And so for the first time, I was struggling. And because we grew up in this culture of you don't ask questions unless you don't know, like, and you are not smart, I didn't ask for help. And so the first couple of months I was struggling, I didn't ask anybody. And then later on, I realized I'm the one playing myself. So eventually I started to ask for help. But later on, it started to get difficult because, as you can imagine, it was around that same time too that like the naira to the dollar started to slip. So paying school fees and having money wasn't as easy anymore. So I also had to start working for my own upkeep as well. Now, thankfully, my parents did everything they could, thankfully. But still, in the truth was, as much as they were doing, it's just not enough. I still needed to add on top of it. So aside from school, now I now had to also start working. And so now we got to this place where I'm struggling to figure out what's going on in school. And on top of that, I didn't even have enough time to figure out the school thing. I still now also need to add money on top. And so for the first time in my life, I failed a course that I had actually, and this is not because I was playing. Before, when I was playing, I was acing everything. And now I'm not playing and I'm failing.
Wow.
So that was a shock to me, to be honest. But I don't mind it because I think it was a good time to be humbled, because I would have gone through my entire life thinking I was on top of the world the entire time, because again, never failed, never study. What is that? So as an international student, that was the wake up call where I was like, okay, you can't waltz your way through life. And life will happen. And so working, and then the new work ethic of being able to study and figuring things out started becoming that part of that experience. So that's what that international experience gave me. And now keep in mind, you don't have any family, you don't know anybody.
Exactly.
In Nigeria, you at least last class, you can always talk to the teacher. You know what they'll say. Your friends, you can quickly ask for help. This time I'm working with people. I was the only black student in my class. So now if I need help, I have to ask the white kids, and sometimes they just act like, how do you not know this? This is basic. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, what else you want from me? And so you don't want to be embarrassed sometimes. You don't want to be shamed. The Indian kids will stick to themselves. White kids will stick to themselves. The Asian kids will stick to themselves. So you didn't have any real help. So that's where it started to get difficult for sure. But, you find a way. And I remember even trying to quit engineering. I was like, and I think that was the first time I was like, I can't do this. And I thought, man, yeah, but I found a way. Like, so I switched out of software engineering. I did a branch of software engineering that was electrical and software together, as opposed to just strict software engineering, because I needed to get some of that math back. I needed to get my confidence back. So I added some more math into my engineering, and then it was communications, which was like in between. And so straight up, I'll still do my software stuff, but now I was no longer only with the software guys. But man, it was hard. I don't even lie. Like, there was only a point where I was working 2 jobs, because what you would do is, at least the way it would work to make money was, while you're in school, you work part-time. In the summer, you work a full-time job, and then you work a part-time job as well. And then back to school again, you drop the full-time one. That's kind of what I was doing, so that I could finish everything on time and without loans and stuff like that, at least for undergrad. The master side, which we'll maybe talk about separately. At this point, I was a permanent resident as a master's student. But again, now I had to stop work to pay for this one full-time. I was going to attend that one full-time because I already made the mistake in undergrad where I was working and whatever. So I said, no, let me save as much as I can. I will also borrow money. And again, thankful for the Canadian government for doing that. I got loans. Banks also loaned me some money. I was like, no, I'm going to face this one squarely. We're not playing that mistake of feeling like never again. And so the master's one this time, I was like, okay, well, let's get back to where we used to be. So I aced that one too. But yeah, that was my experience as an international student, figuring out culture, figuring out all kinds of things, working, school. It was hell, but we finished it. So it's now good stories.
It's now stories. And you know what? When we look back, we just smile because people back home won't understand what we go through here.
Yeah.
I tell you, I made a video one time and I said to people that in this country, there were times I go to school. Mm-hmm. Once I close at 3:00, I'm just going into the bathroom to change and go to my next job. And then when I'm back, like maybe 12 a.m. in the morning, I have to read because I have an exam or a test or something, or project or something the next day. And then I go to school like 7 a.m. and then I'm back again. Like, people don't know what we go through as international students. They just think it's easy now. No. So what would be your advice for, let's just finish the school part. What would be your advice for those students?
I think my advice primarily, and one of the things I realized maybe late, was not asking for help is your own suffering. And there's no need or reason for you to not speak up. Speak up early. If you're struggling, like literally, schools will even give you accommodation if there's extenuating circumstances. True. Like literally, I had people who would have extra time on their exams because they just spoke up. Like, honestly, I have anxiety. Like something as small as I have anxiety. They're like, okay, how much time? And they would extend people for hours. I'm like, if you give me the same exam with extra 1 hour, Only 1 hour. Some people give him 3. Some people have like a day, they'll take it home. And I was like, this is possible? And they're like, yeah. It has always been there. So speak up. If there's anything, like literally, look, I'm having domestic issues at home. Like something as basic as that. Literally, people even get exemptions for I broke up with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
They get, and so I was like, why didn't anybody tell me? You know, it was very late. But speak up. That's number one. If you are whatever the issue is, there's no shame, there's no pity. It is what it is. Get help if you need it. The second side is also just find a way to network with your classmates. I find as much as my classmates weren't the easiest, because again, engineers are not easy to talk to at all. You have to swallow your pride to relate with these guys. Because when you finish the program and you're in a job, now you don't have to do that anymore. But while you are in the process, you have to swallow all your pride. There's no pride in I'm not asking for help. There's no pride in I'm not talking to anybody. I'm going to sort it out. Ask for help. Like, I don't know is I don't know. The only grade that matters is what happens when you finish writing in the exam hall. There's nobody grades you for being the most embarrassing person in class. Nobody else is going to shame you for being the most prideful person. It's the grade gone that matters. So certainly ask for help. Reach out, network as much as possible. Talk to all the advisors, all the counselors. Talk to them, and always get a second opinion as well. Because sometimes some people don't know and they just tell you bad information. So just run it by somebody else just to get a second opinion. But other than that, man, you're gonna have to work hard, very, very hard, and be focused. Stay focused. So
be focused.
Yeah.
So how did you feel being the only international student in your class then?
Oof. Wow. At the time, I didn't even really know. I thought everybody else was also international. But it started to click later when I understood, I looked at the fees and it was just like compared to us, like maybe a third of what we were paying. But the biggest part of it was feeling like you were the only one. I think that was the biggest thing, and not being able to explain what was strange about the experience. So for example, even people who went home, they always went home to their parents during Christmas. They always had they could go home for Christmas, and I'd be like, I can't go home. Like, it's too expensive to go back home. And those kind of experiences, like, it was very weird for sure. But I think the biggest piece of being international was just you have to be brave. You have to be courageous as much as possible. You can't come all the way here, cross 7 seas, pay international fees, and then the moment is now with you, and then now you're like, I miss home. Don't get me wrong, it is okay to accept it, but you have to be brave. You have to power through it. It's a very daunting experience for sure. That's the international experience, really. You have to just keep powering through it. You just got to keep going. Find a way, whatever is your motivation. You got to keep going. Quickly for my master's, I think this on that side. So that's my master's degree now. So that one I keep, and then my engineering one is right there. So as you can see now, is like part of my wall decoration. Like you must see it. But one of the big things that I used as motivation for my master's was I printed this letter. So initially when I was applying, they rejected me, and so I printed it, the letter that they initially rejected me for before they accepted me, and I kept it on my door of my room, so that every day I was going to class, I would see it. And every day I come back home from class, I would see it. And it would remind me how these people had the audacity to tell me, first of all, they will never accept me. They had the audacity to try it. And that for me was my own way of motivating myself. So that every day, there'll be days when I feel tired and I'll see that rejection, I get pissed off all over again. Because that to me was like, wow, these people thought I wasn't good enough to come here. So that was my own way of motivating. Now, if I knew that was what I needed early in my undergrad, again, I didn't know myself as well, so I don't really blame myself too much. But in my undergrad, there were so many instances of things, situations like that too, similarly, where someone thought I wasn't smart enough or I didn't know enough, and I would just have printed it, left it on my door, and I've been pissed off. And every time I'm going to study, I'll remember that person that pissed me off and study extra hard. Because I know there was one semester I did that where that was like my best semester in undergrad. I think it was my dad that sent them that pissed me off. And every day I'll look at that email again. I just get pissed off all over again and go and study. But yeah, so that was where motivation. So find whatever you need as an international student to power through it. If it's motivation, if it's you need someone to check up on you, whatever it is. But my own was somebody pissed me off and I was like, there's no chance in hell I'll let you have the last laugh. Lie. Never. So
it's
that was my own way.
And also determination is one thing too.
Exactly. So
you need that push.
Yeah. Whatever way you can find it.
Yeah. And I think the one question that almost everybody is waiting to hear is, how did you transition after your master's to this great job? Is
Hmm.
it easy?
If easy, everybody will do it now. No, so okay, so my own journey has always been very interesting. So the way I went about it, I always knew I wanted to do an MBA at some point. Even though I was interested in technology, I felt like maybe in some way, shape, or form, the business side of technology will be what I need, but I need to figure out the technology side first. So I became a software developer in part because of that, because I always loved technology, and I figured that being a dev was the easiest path in, and technically it was. So I did the software engineering thing first. I became a software developer, and then when I did the MBA, it was now to balance that. Okay, let me add some business side to this technology thing. So when I finished my MBA, time for interviews and all that, I got interviewed at a bunch of big companies. So the Microsofts, the IBMs, I interviewed at Amazon, banks as well. I interviewed. Ultimately, it came down to a bank and IBM. So I chose IBM. I wanted to be a product manager. I felt like, okay, this is me.
Mhm.
So I picked IBM for that reason, and then I worked there for 3 years. So at IBM, from even literally, I even finished school early, so I could go and join IBM. Like they were like, okay, Tolu, we're ready for you. Here's your offer and all these things. And I was like, what dates do you want? And I looked at it. I'm like, okay, let me look at my course. So I looked at my schooling, and I was like, I can finish my classes early and literally start working while my mates are still in school, because
Yeah.
the way the MBA works is not about everybody finishing at the same time. It's just the courses that you want to take, you take them, and if you're done, you're done. The rest of the time, you're just playing.
Yeah.
And so for me, because I was interested in anyways, we're early. I picked them. I was done, and I started working. And so 3 years into my time at IBM, there was a networking group, BPT, and so professionals and black professionals in Canada, I think it was,
Mhm.
and they posted this rule about come and be the lead for mobile. And keep in mind, I had done a mobile project in my undergrad for my software engineering project, but
Yeah.
that was really the last time I had worked on mobile only. The rest of the time I had worked on desktop, behind back end, things like that. And but I was still interested in sports. And also, as you see, there's a camera, there's a microphone here.
Yeah.
I had just bought the microphone and all that because I always wanted to do podcasting. I was also very good at fantasy, and I was my friends had always asked me, "Kitolu, come and give us, do podcast, tell us all how you are doing it." And so I bought the stuff, started recording it for my friends for free, just out of like my friends have been saying I should do.
Wow.
And so I did it. And in the interview, I told them, oh yeah, so I really love sport. They even asked me questions around sport, and I knew all the stuff because again, I watched this thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I also have a podcast, by the way. You can go check it out. Like if you don't believe me that I know this thing. And so they went and checked it out.
Hmm.
And literally it turned out later, so obviously after I got the job later, my director was like, by the way, one of the things that clinched it for the fact that you had a podcast and you really knew, like literally, you knew the numbers, you knew the players, like that to us was something we were looking for, where you're interested in this thing. This is not like we need to convince you to do your job. This is what you do.
Mhm.
So I think that was kind of how it all ended up coming together. It wasn't because of any one thing. It was like a multiplicity of things that came together. And I think it's one of those strange things in life where, like, if you just stay interested in the things you are doing and you keep working hard at the things you are doing, one day there'll be that one opportunity that has no business being with anybody else but you. And
Exactly.
so that's kind of how it happened. And really, that's how the job came to be. Really, it wasn't like as if I was dying to be in sports. Just was like, oh, there's this. I was like, oh, that seems like I can do it. And I went in there, and here we are today. So that's kind of how I got the
Oh
job.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's impressive. So you didn't even think you're going to get a job in broadcasting or anything like that. It just
No,
happened for you because you were
it,
doing podcasts. So
I was
a
just doing it
lesson.
already, and it just showed up one day. Yeah. So I mean, I thank God for that, for stuff like that, because you don't, like, when you're doing things, sometimes you don't see the end result. Like literally, even till today, I think about it like, how do I even make money of this podcasting thing? Like,
Mhm.
I have no clue still, but I still keep doing it because I enjoy it anyways. Even aside from this sports one, I also have another one that I do every week, which is just about my experiences in Canada. And so I just keep doing that thing every week. No clue I'm going to monetize it. No clue. And I really don't care for that right now. But every time I keep doing it, it just seems like as if one opportunity
Comes
comes out
out.
of it. And so the sports one just came out of nowhere. It helped me get my job. And so that's how I'm there today. Now I don't know if that will continue, maybe to become something else, but even within my company now, I already have the equipment, and so everybody's usually looking forward to working or taking a meeting with me because they want to get that podcast experience, because I can also add music, I can do all kinds of things with the equipment I have. So it's just a crazy opportunity that came to me. Really, that's how I got here. I can't tell you I orchestrated it. I knew what I was doing. It just came. So that's how we are here today.
Yeah, I think the morale from what you just said now is just keep doing you, just keep doing what you love doing. And someday somebody from somewhere will be like, I need that person. I need Tolu. Where is he? How can I find him?
That's precisely
That's
it.
just the one thing I get from that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
stick
So
with
my
it.
next question is, what were your first thoughts about Canada when you arrived?
Jesus is cold. No. Okay. So I arrived in August. Right? And so it wasn't that bad at that time. So the winter it wasn't that cold yet. And obviously you'd already heard about how cold it was. Everybody always tells you how cold it is. And so I arrived in August. I'm like, well, I mean, it's not that bad. It's only like what,
Yeah.
26. It's not that bad. And so as fall was coming, I was like, okay, it's getting colder. Okay, I can see the need for jackets. Okay, I get it. It's making sense. And I remember that first snowfall. It was so cute. I was like, oh my goodness, snow is so beautiful. It's white. It looks like the movies. So cool. Now I don't even want to see it. Like, just in fact. But no, the winter was a shock. Like, I did not believe it was that cold. I remember the first time I left, I bought a pack of Coke and I left it outside because I was like, okay, let me try out this thing. I mean, if it's -4, if it's so bad, it will keep my drinks cold. And then I put it outside, and the next morning the cans had burst because it was frozen so much. And so at that point I realized, okay, let's be coming down. This is not a joke. I went and I think I just stopped playing with winter since then. But aside from that, though, I think there weren't that many Black people where I was. So I was in Hamilton at that time. There weren't that many. There were a couple, but it wasn't that much. And I think that was the first time too in my life where I was living in a place where I wasn't in the majority. So that was weird to get used to, being like you're now a minority. You're now like, one of the few people. I also had to get used to the fact that like nothing here is built for me particularly. Like that was a little strange to accept, but now you figure out, okay, what is my way to contribute and to be contributed to. And so I had to find a way to just accept all that and start building my life from there. So you accept that you're no longer, Canada wasn't built for Black people. You accept that, you live with it, but still, that doesn't mean there isn't an opportunity for us to contribute or to be big members of the society. So once I accepted that, it was easier to accept a lot of other things that I didn't particularly like. So, for example, slight racism here and there. It's tough to accept, but again, once you've seen it, you now find a ways to go around it. Figuring out, for example, even things like your name being a reason why people don't accept your resume, things like that. It's tough, but you accept it, but you move on. Again, because one day somebody's going to come out looking for the guy. Like, I don't care what his name is. That guy is who I want. And so you have to keep working hard at whatever it is that you're doing and being the best version of you possible, so that when they call you, you are ready and over ready. Safe, like literally, it's almost feels like as if I've been waiting for this moment. You don't know what I'm going to do for you in like just give me one chance, that kind of thing. So but yeah, those were the first couple of things I figured out. And it's cold. Canada is not built for me, but I'll be okay. I can figure it out. Like other people are doing it, I can figure it out. So
exactly. And what were your thoughts about the people when you first arrived? Were they nice? Did you find it easy to?
So the people. So in Hamilton. So Hamilton was my first experience, and that's why I ran away from Hamilton. Yeah, I left Hamilton at that time because Hamilton at that time wasn't particularly the current Hamilton you have today, where it's a little more gentrified, it's a little more posh, it's a little more cleaned up. That time, it wasn't like Jackson Square was just not the nicest. But again, it was still survivable. Like, again, keep in mind, I was 17, 16 at that time. So my priorities in life were also a little slightly different. People were nice to me. I didn't get any overt mean people. You had the occasional people that would just lock their car when you're walking by, of course. But aside from that, people were generally nice. I remember there was one elderly lady that was on my bus every time I was going to school and back. she would always talk to me. Like she'd be like, "Oh, you remind me of my grandson every time." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I don't know you, but
I don't know you.
I don't know you. Why are you asking me?" But she was always very nice. And so at least that person, like even got to the point where I was looking forward to seeing her on the bus. And I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to see the bus. And like literally I would get up early because I'm like, okay, I'm going to see her again. Um, but then eventually I had to move from where I was because that place was too far from school. It was way too far.
Mhm.
Um, but again, even the people there too were generally nice. People were really open to answering any questions. If I couldn't figure out where I'm going, people would help me ask. Haircuts, they've helped me figure it out. So initially they were helpful. But it wasn't the people I was hanging out with that were the things I didn't really like. It was people that I didn't know, and the way they would talk to you as if like you stole their bread or something. And so those were the people I didn't like, but the rest
Yeah.
of them were very people I spoke on a daily basis, people I lived with, people I encountered at school were always very nice. It was everybody else that's yeah. So I left and moved to Ottawa. So initial expression of Canada was great for people I knew, but everybody else, please be
So
going.
are you saying don't go to Hamilton?
That's keep in mind that this 2009 Hamilton, you will never. It's not the same Hamilton
It's
you will
not the
meet
same
now. It's not the
again.
same. I think I went back to Hamilton last 2 months ago, and it's not the same Hamilton anymore. It's not the same. It's more.
Same.
It's cleaned up now. There are more richer people moving in the area, so they've cleaned it up, gentrified it a little bit more. So Hamilton is much better than it used to be. So yeah.
I know I visited Hamilton in 2019 when my mom was
Mhm.
around. So yeah, it looked different. It looked good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not the same
Yeah.
anymore.
Okay, my next question is what was the most challenging part for you when moving to Canada? I know you just talked a little bit about the weather, like the
Yeah.
snow, but what else?
The most I don't know that there was one. I think there was a couple. Accepting that you don't get to see your family regularly is tough.
Yep.
Um, so like with family not being around, that is hard,
Hmm.
especially all the holidays.
Yep.
Your birthdays literally is only a phone call you can get. Easter, all those things, and everybody's usually celebrating their own family somewhere there about. Um, that is hard to accept. But you get used to it over time, and it almost becomes a little numbing at some point. And even your birthday is like honestly, it's just my friends at this point. But later on, it becomes an exciting thing to look forward to because your friends become so close to you. It's just that first set where it's just like I don't really know these people, but I'm going to celebrate it with them anyways.
Yeah.
The first set is tough, but after a while, you guys saying like you're looking forward to hang with your friends. So there's that. The other challenge I would say would be finding food. I think
Mhm.
depending on where you are, food can be tough to find. Especially if you're the type that likes eba. If you like eba, you like pounded yam, all those things. I particularly like, like I like the Igbo soups as well, or how those kind of things. And those ones they require special things you need to find, like cocoa yam. You need to find all those leaves, that ugu, things like that. And those can be challenging to find. And sometimes you find them, you're going to find the dried ones, and so it's no longer fresh.
Fresh, yeah.
Um, and so it tastes certainly different. The yam is different. Plantain is different. And I was like, this is not plantain. I don't want plantain that's all get there. Like, what is this? So those things, again, you find a way to tolerate it, but you get used to it over time. And you find your plug that will help you get to those kind of things. But food is tough as well. You have to get used to, figuring things out with Tim Hortons. You have to get used to figuring things out. If you eat McDonald's, fine, but I try to avoid that as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, those would be my challenging, like family, food, friends as well can be a little difficult at the initial stages. It's easy in school because especially if you find other Nigerians around your school. But if
Hmm.
you're in a school where there are not that many Nigerians or there are not that many black people, it's very difficult. Like, where are you going to meet them? Unless you go to church as well,
Yeah.
you can't just randomly meet a black person and be like, "Hey, do you want to be my friend?" Like, it's awkward,
No.
and people are going to be like, "Who is this weird person?"
Yeah.
So making friends can also then be difficult. So yeah, so it's just the social aspect of Canada that was toughest. Like everything else is straightforward. Like the systems make sense.
Yeah.
You want to get a license, you want to find a house. All those systems are in place. That is not
Yeah.
hard. It's the meeting your own tribe of people that is the toughest part. And yeah, that would be my biggest challenge. I think
Yeah.
I'd say.
For me, when I first
Mhm.
got into this country, I know every day for the first 3 months, I was always crying. I even
Wow.
had to see, yeah, they even requested that, they even advised and encouraged me to get I don't know what they call them again. Someone that helps you in school when you're going through challenging times. I forget what they
Okay,
call.
counselor.
Yeah, something like
A
that.
guidance
Yeah.
counselor. Yeah.
So I had the one lady who was I was always speaking with, who was helping me
Wow.
through that period because I told her I just want to go back. I was crying,
Mhm.
literally crying every day because it's a different environment, culture shock and all of that, new things, new way of living. I mean,
Mhm.
I felt so scared in a new country, and I'm like, I just want to go back.
Mhm.
So yeah, most immigrants will feel that way, and it's just normal, right, Tolu?
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's certainly that way. Like, it's tough. Like, it's majorly tough. I won't even lie. Like, in my own case, I was okay initially because I'd already done boarding school. So in my mind, it was an extended boarding school.
Mm,
'Cause I'd already done boarding school for 3 years, so I'd gotten conditioned to expect this. But because I'd done boarding school, it was easier. But for other people, I knew it was very difficult. It was very, very tough. Like, especially if
yeah.
you're very tight with your family, very, very close, it
Mm-hmm.
would be a big shock
Mm-hmm.
to not see your family at all for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not easy at all. It's really not.
Mm-hmm. So when we were talking the last time, you were saying things like ugu and that, but when I was talking about your bio, there was nothing about food here. And Tolu, I know you love food, and you
But
used to
when food is part
be.
of enjoyment now.
Tell me a little bit about all this. I hardly hear a man say ugu and talk about food stuff here.
I mean, so so okay, let me take it all the way back.
Yeah.
So initially, when I first got here, I at home I used to cook Indomie. I mean, naturally, you turn it by every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I remember learning how to make stew at home, just slightly. Just figure you warm the stew, you know how to boil rice, those kind of things. So it wasn't really a big deal. Like, it wasn't. I didn't know the things. My mom had made us remove periwinkle from the shelf or idikaikong and things like that. So I kind of knew what was happening in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And my mom also, by the way, my mom didn't have any girls, so essentially you're going to find a way to make it work. So I got here, and I remember in, I think it was second year of university, there was this girl I was trying to impress that time, and I was like, okay, I don't have money. Money is not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have money, so it's not money that I'm going to use to toast this babe. What if I use? What if I mean last? What if I'm like, okay, you know what? Last, I can cook for you. Like, if you say nothing else, I
Yeah.
can cook. So I remember I Googled how to bake chicken on the spot.
Hmm.
And I was like, I figured, okay, you need to put all these spices, rub it in, da, 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 da. And so I did it really, really well. Like, even by my own like beginner standard, it was amazing.
Hmm.
And so at the time, I didn't figure it out, but like I recognized that I don't know, there was something about making food that I already had like a natural
Thing for.
affinity for and just an ability for it. Where even if I didn't know what was what, I could quickly figure out what would work with each other. And so at that point, again, I had done something to try to impress somebody else at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But now I discovered that, okay, I mean, I can do one or two in the kitchen. So I just kept on doing it. And over time, I just figured, like, literally one of my friends would even invite me to come and cook for him. Like, literally, like, oh, I'll buy ingredients. Just come and cook at our house. We'll hang, we'll chill, all these kind of things. And it was good luck too, because at that time I was so low on money as well that I couldn't even afford groceries as well.
Hmm.
So good fortune that I had also figured out how to cook,
Yeah.
to the point where my friends were like, "Oh, you can cook really well. Come and cook for us. We'll buy,
Okay.
we'll pay for ingredients. You cook."
Yeah.
I'm like, perfect. Sounds good to me. So those moments saved me as well in school, because now whenever I didn't have food, I'll just offer to cook for somebody. Just buy the ingredient, come and cook. And obviously, naturally, because I'm cooking, I'll eat out of it.
Exactly.
So that's kind of how I got into it. Now, over time, as the money started to come up after school and what have you, I would still invite my friends over, because now I've gotten into the habit of cooking for my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So now I still invite my friends over. Thanksgiving, those kind of things. Again, keep in mind, we don't have families around each other, birthdays, things like that. So we'll cook for each other, and that's our little thing. And so over time, again, now the ability to cook has not just ingrained itself slowly but surely, because one, we don't have choice. We can't afford to buy food anyways. I remember even one time we even had to keep this one McDonald's cup that was $1 because we couldn't afford anything. So we keep the cup and keep using it. Yeah, so I'm telling you, it wasn't easy. But
Oh.
again, so you figure things out. So that was kind of how I kept on learning to cook. And over time, I would start adding some, necessary ingredients. So I was like, let's go and do F4. Let's go and do this one. Let's do, Ekpan Coco. Let's try all this. So all those kind of little by little, you start to add it. And yeah, Idika at some point, you try it. Ofe Oweri, you try it at some point. Like, I was getting into them step by step, and I was like, this thing is slappy, this is nice. So hey. So yeah, that was literally how I got into it. So literally it started from one, trying to impress somebody, and later on as a necessary means to survive.
Yeah.
And then over time it became a way of enjoying myself. So literally I recognize when I'm like, one of the ways I quickly figure out if I am not in a good place is my interest in cooking. Like, if I'm not interested in cooking, then something is wrong. I need to reset. I need to remove myself. Like, because I know something has happened that I don't even want to do something I enjoy. Something is wrong. So that's now one of the measures I quickly figure out. Okay, Tolu, you need a break. Like, you're probably stressed. So things like that. So that's kind of how I got into the cooking thing. And literally, I'll take pictures of it, post it. My friends would say like, "Oh my god, I want." I'm like, "Come on, it's like, like I won't take offense when people ask me, "Is there food in my house?" Like, I take offense. Like, when have you ever been to my house and there was no food? When have you come to my house and I didn't feed you? So yeah, that's kind of how the food thing became a thing, really. Yeah, so
I know I used to see you make your post on Instagram. I'll be like, oh my goodness, where are you like this now?
yeah. So that's kind of how I got into it. An enjoyment thing, and yeah.
So how's the journey been for you so far living in Canada?
So there's so many stages to being in Canada, especially as an immigrant, right? So I've gotten out of the struggle phase where, like, you're trying to figure out what's going on, what's what. Just trying to get your head above water. Minimum wage jobs. I've worked like maybe 3 minimum wage jobs now. 3. So I like literally can't do minimum wage ever again now. So you get out of that. That's the initial figure it out place.
Yeah.
And thankfully now I try to do this thing where I try to help people skip that phase as much as I can. So that's initial where you don't know anything. You struggle through everything. That was that place. Then there's the place where you start to understand systems, where you understand what credit means. You understand what overtime means, because obviously when you're struggling, you don't care what overtime. Pay me, I don't care. Pay.
I don't care. Pay me.
So now I got into that place of understanding credit, understanding overtime, holidays. And so now you are now above water. Now rent is going to get paid. Now you're at the place where rent is always paid. I remember the first time I didn't need to worry about my rent being paid. I knew, like, literally rent was going to be paid. And that was like the first time I got my full-time job after school. That job was paying me 55K. It's around 2015, 55. Literally, I remember when they told me, "Tolu, you got the job."
Yikes.
Hey! I said, "How much?" They were like, "Oh, we're offering 55. And again, in hindsight, if I knew what I know now, I should have gone back and asked for more. Well, see, that time I was struggling. So
anything
55, my rent is now covered for life. Like, literally, there is no going back now. At this point, I am going to always have my rent paid, because my rent at that time was like 500, 450, somewhere there about. So imagine I was paying rent of 450 and I didn't know if it was going to get paid or not.
Yikes.
Because I was working minimum wage that time. And so I was like, okay, my 500 rent is now settled, because even if I want to be careless with this 55K, there is no way 6K a year I cannot pay 6K a year.
It's not possible now.
How? Like, what am I doing? So I already knew. And this time I didn't have a car, I didn't have anything else, so I already knew. Well, thank you, Jesus. I am never again. Oh my! I never have to worry again where's rent going to come from. So I remember as I got the job and I left the building, like, literally I was supposed to go and catch the bus. I stopped, like, literally I crossed the road. I looked back at the building and I just started crying, because I was like, "Hey God, you mean I don't have to worry about rent?" Like, there's something about knowing that your house is now your space. Like, nobody can kick you away.
Exactly.
Oh man, the relief. I was like, thank you, Jesus. So I cried. I just cried. I cried, and then I was like, okay. Let's. So I cleaned everything, entered the bus. I just did like as if everything is fine. I got home again, cried again. So that was the next space of like, okay, now rent is paid. I can now start saving. Saving money is not the next step. And so I started saving, and that's the next area of my life. And then lucky for me, I quickly moved past that stage because I started reading a lot of like, okay, I have 55K on my hand. I cannot blow it. Because again, at that time, I was also thinking in Naira.
Yeah.
Naira 55. I'm like, 55K at that time, I was like, I'm making over 1 million a year. Over. Eh? So you're about like, when people always say, oh, I made my first million, I was like, this is it.
Just like
This is
that.
my first million. This is it. This is it. Hey. Eh? I'm a millionaire in Naira. Oh, yeah, let's go. So now
Yes, so
I was like, okay, so now I have to make sure, because remember when we were growing up, everybody always said, oh, we're going to invest that money, save that money. And so I'm like, this is like, there's nothing else I'm waiting for to save that money. So this is the money. So I quickly started reading up books on, okay, I don't want to blow this money. How do I deal with debt? How do I do all those things? So that's that next space I got into. And then it quickly morphed into, okay, finding out your best way to thrive, which is about figuring out, okay, if you're going to save money, how do you invest it? If you're going to save money, what is your best way of investing? Because there's so many different ways. Everybody, you can do a business, you can do stocks, you can do real estate. There's so many different ways. Whatever it is that is your way. Now this is time to start figuring out what it is. And so, lucky for me, I had people in my corner who were pulling me aside. I had one of my friends. His name is Nate, and like I always call him my big brother, because literally, if not for Nate and some other of his friends around me, Toby and all of them, what those guys, and being around those guys, I'm pretty sure I would have blown all that money. But those guys never wanted to spend money like that anyways. And these guys were making more money than me at that time. But for whatever reason, they always stayed humble. There was never a need to buy a fancy car. Literally, their own thing was always, okay, well, there's this other thing we need to work on. We're trying to get better at this software thing. We're going to save this money to buy this house later. And so by default, because those are the people I hung around, there was no need for me to go and flex because my friends weren't flexing. So the money was piling in my account. So just piling. It wasn't going anywhere. All of us were still living together. We're all still cooking for each other because we've gotten the habit of we're cooking for ourselves. And so at some point, I got an opportunity to buy my first house when I was really, really young. And my friend Nate, again, so he was around. He's like, and that time I was scared of buying the house. I was very scared because the house I was living in at the time, the one that was 500, the landlord wanted to sell. And I was like, I don't want to move. I like this place. I like the area.
Yeah.
And so at that time, they're like, okay, so are you interested in buying it? So again, so I had just finished school 2015. This was like a year later. Literally. And keep in mind again, and I feel like my life is that kind of thing where like literally I don't like the opportunity just shows up. But because I'd always been preparing and I don't know what I'm preparing for, but I don't prepare for something, an opportunity just show. So my landlord wanted to sell. And all my friends, we lived in the same house. We were like 4 of us that lived in the same house. I'd always been paying the rent to the landlord. So I already knew what all the bills were. I already knew what everything was. So everybody would give me the money, I would pay to the landlord.
Yeah.
And so I already knew all the bills for internet. I knew all the numbers inside out. I already knew it. So like literally I can tell you how it's like 500 for like literally I know everybody's section. And so the landlord was like, okay, so this is how much I want to sell it for. I was like, okay. Give me 1 minute. Let me go and check something. 1 minute. So I asked my friend, okay, guys, are you guys willing to stay? If you guys want to pay in the rent, just but this time you'll pay me, but I'll buy the house. Is everybody cool? Everybody cool? Like, yeah, we don't even want to move anyways. Cool. I'm gonna check broker. Okay. By the way, if I want to buy a house, what do I need? Yeah. Oh, well, usually you need this, you need that. Oh, do you have a realtor? I'm like, no. I know the person that's selling it directly. Oh, really? So they're like, you may want to get a realtor, you might get a better deal. I said, no, don't worry. I know the landlord, and this she was also really nice. Now it turns out, in hindsight, she was trying to get out of the house pretty quickly. But anyway, that's a side story. But anyways, so I bought the house. Long story short, I bought this house, and that set me up for stage 3, which is now by mistake I started thriving by mistake. This is not because I was trying to buy a house; it just came. Yeah. And so now housing was covered. So for the first time, I was in real estate game. By accident, I stumbled into it. My friends were renting from me. I would subsidize. I kept their rent the same, relatively. I increased it by a little bit, but they understood because again, now you're the new landlord. You need to figure out money as well because now I was putting all my money into the house. So if anything went wrong, I didn't have any more money. So I told them, okay, I'll increase the rent by $100 extra, but that's where it's going to stay. So for a lot of them, and keep in mind, they are also now working. So all of them are also earning around me 50K, 60K, 70K. So to them, $600 is still relatively nothing.
Yeah.
Because literally people are making that money are usually spending maybe 2K on rent, 1K on rent, this kind of thing, somewhere in that range. And so for them, $600, so let's say no more. We got you, we'll be here. And so house hacking now became the other way. And now that set me up later around the line to where I'm at now, where like literally, like if I ever have to worry about rent, it's because I'm the one that wasted the money.
Yeah.
So now I'm in a place where like literally my goal now is just to look out for good investment decisions. Autopiloting a lot of it, like a lot of my systems are now in place. I still have real estate that I still do, but that's kind of the stage I'm in now, where like now it's also now about giving back and giving back to people around, things I've done, how to do it, which credit to look for. A lot of my friends now ask me, okay, so I want to buy in this area. Do you think it's a good area? Because I've been in Ottawa for a long time. I've bought in Ottawa maybe like 3 times now as well. So people are like, okay, I want to buy in this area in Ottawa. What do you think? I want to buy that in area in Ottawa. What do you think? Or do you think the numbers are there and things like that? And so it's now in a place where I'm almost like, I didn't think I would be here until like maybe I was in my late 30s or early 40s, but I'm already there and I'm not even 30 yet. So
exactly,
it's that kind of thing where, again, if you prepare, you don't know what it is, but an opportunity showed up, and lucky for me, I was ready, because I could easily have been like, I don't have the money, and I was blowing it on cars. By mistake, it would have been gone, and so that's kind of the luck that came my way. And just because I just had the money sitting there, I was lucky enough that it just worked. So that's kind of what it is. Those are the stages, and that's kind of my Canadian journey in a nutshell. So now I'm also a citizen as well. I don't worry about Canada sending me home, because this is my house. So you want to send me back to my apartment? Don't worry, I'm going home. We'll do this tomorrow. So things like that. And I was always in a place where, like I said, opportunity is my life story pretty much. And just being prepared. Literally, PR2, I was one of the first in my friend group to apply. Like literally, the moment I was eligible, I applied. My citizenship, even to apply for citizenship, I was due, and I can't remember the day it was. Let's even say it was today. I had sent it in 2 days before, knowing that the Canada Post delivery standard was 2 days. And so literally, my application became eligible the date arrived. Because I'm like, see, the day you can get there, you will get there, and you start processing it that same day.
Exactly.
Because I was like, I'm not wasting time. I'm not allowing people to make mistakes and say, oh, no, you're not a citizen. No. Please, give me my citizenship, give me my passport. Yeah, that's kind of always my thing. So I do things early. I try to do them as quickly as possible, as early as possible. Because life, man, it's just about opportunity. If you're ready for opportunity, you take advantage of it. So yeah, so that's
the moral of the story. Moral of your story is be with the good cliques, right?
Find your tribe. Starting your tribe and find people that are good people. And when you have good people around you, good things happen. It's very strange how like good things happen to good people.
Exactly.
Good things happen to everybody, really, but when you're around good people, it just almost like magnifies itself, and people encourage you a little bit more. So I try my best to also, be that person for somebody else. If someone's like, "Oh, I want to do this," I'm like, "Oh, no, don't do that. Do this instead," or things like that. So, people, whenever they ask me for any questions, I'm like, "See, if I've experienced it, I will tell you the truth of what I've experienced. This place is hard. This one is not. Do this one instead. Do that one instead. At least to the best of my knowledge and my ability." So, yeah.
Awesome. I know time is money, but I won't let you go before I need to ask this question. So,
sure.
What is the one thing you wish you knew before relocating to Canada?
One thing I wish I knew. Before relocating, I don't know. Like, I feel like if I knew more things about Canada before I moved, maybe I won't even have moved, to be honest. Okay. I think the ignorance helped. But I think if it was anything that was useful that I should have known, would have been maybe find friends that have the same values as you. I think that would be the key thing. Your values are valid, whatever they are. I think that would be the key thing. But aside from that too, build credit early. That's from a financial perspective, because that will set Canada just for whatever reason cares so much about credit. So find your credit is key. So that's number one. I'll have learned that earlier, even though I learned it very early. I learned that earlier, even I mean much better. The second thing too is I think enjoyment will come if you pay the sacrifice. So I think I would have been reminded early that a lot of what I was doing when I was young was just sacrifice, because I always used to envy people who had like cars in school, and I was just like, Madu, I can't wait. Honestly, I should have learned to wait, because it's worth it. It's worth it now. That whole, but at the time I couldn't see the results. So I was like, hey, all the suffering, why am I even? But it was necessary. So encouraged to just stay the course. I think a lot of people also left engineering because they couldn't. It was very difficult. Like again, school was
Yeah.
very hard, and I think I'd encourage more people to just stay with me because at the time, only me, I was like, well, that's your own problem. I'll figure it out. I'll encourage more people to stay the course because even now, in hindsight, I'm always just like, if you all are just in engineering, man, you don't understand. And I think another thing too, just staying disciplined is key. Staying disciplined and focused on the end game. Because even now, like a lot of that, I talk to some of my friends, I'm like, there is nothing that I want to do now that I can't do because at the time when people were doing the things I'm doing now, when they were doing it earlier, I couldn't do it then. And I knew I couldn't do it then, even though I probably had the money to do it at that time. But I didn't do it. And I stayed the course at that time. And we thank God where we're at today, where it's like it's easier now. But that time was very, very hard. And I think just reminding people to stay the course. Because even though you're young, you're 21, like it's okay to live with your friends. It's okay. Like there's nobody to impress. I think that's the other thing too. When you're young, there's really nobody cares.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I remember people try to do to impress somebody else. There's really nobody to impress. And I think that's the biggest thing coming to Canada. There's really nobody to impress. You don't have to stunt on your people in Nigeria. There's nobody you need to show that in Nigeria that we've made it to God's country.
No.
So, just come to Canada and do the needful. It's going to be tough. That's just the honest truth. It's going to be tough. But it gets easier once you figure things out. It gets a lot easier. So, God is in control.
Thank you so very much, Tolu. I know your time is already up, but how can people get to meet you, to know you?
Sure. So the first one, you can find me on Instagram. So at Arogumati, it should be showing in the title right now. But again, at Arogumati, Aeromati. So you can find me on Instagram. It's the same thing I use for Facebook for Twitter and Snapchat, but I do not use Snapchat, just FYI. So if you add me there, I won't check it. I'm sorry. So Twitter, Instagram, those are the two there. I'm also on LinkedIn, Tolu Arogumati. You can find me there. I usually accept a lot of requests there. People usually ask me for help here and there. If people want to speak to me directly, I also then schedule time as well. Aside from that, you can learn from my podcast as well. If you just want to see a catalog of things I've learned and talked about, it is called Random Black Person in Canada. Literally, I talk about a lot of my journey. Literally, even like my binary real estate story that I talked about, where so like I even walk through the numbers specifically. So that is also there. You can I talk about my undergrad journey. I talk about like literally, I remember I had one landlord that was trying to be mean to me because he had lawyers, and I was like, "Me to have lawyers. If you don't play with me." So literally, a lot of those stories are there. So that would be another way if you just want to hear the story without me having to explain it over and over. I make new episodes every week. It comes out on Sundays, so you can check that out there. But yeah, those would be the key ways: Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and my podcast. That would be the best way to hear from me and reach me, really. So
awesome. So I was just going to ask you to please send me that information so that I can have it on my description, because right now I don't think I have that information.
no problem.
If you send that to me, I can have it on there, and then you guys can always go and check out his podcast and everything about Tolu.
Awesome. Certainly, I will do that right away.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming in, Tolu, and have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, we'll talk again soon. Have a great evening. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys, thank you so much for staying with us, and thank you, Tolu, for hanging out with me. I know we were scheduled for just 45 minutes, but we've gone over 45, and time is money here in Canada. I'm just going to read a couple of interesting messages that I got on here. First and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for all those who have come in here. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you. It's very important. Okay, Adiwat, Chidimadu says, I just got my IELTS score and I got a band score of 7. I tried applying on the Canadian website, but was told not eligible. Eligible. And what else did he say on here? Please advise what you can give me. Well, please send me a quick email, graciousTobehold@gmail.com, and we can follow up on that with you. Okay. Oge says, interestingly, that's the one advice a big friend gave us when we came. Stay with the right people, uncompetitive people that will teach you how to genuinely pay the dues for success. Thanks for the time well spent. Well, okay, thank you so much. When I came to this country, I don't have any family with me, right? So I was told to be very, very careful and be mindful of the friends you keep, of the association you keep as well, because some persons will just say things that are not correct. Some persons want to even lure you into making the wrong decisions or taking the wrong decisions, things that would almost even put you into trouble. So I tried so hard to stay away from a particular set of people, and I watched the company that I also kept. So that's one good thing that I always want to give as an advice to new immigrants who are moving down to Canada. Canada is not rosy as you see people paint it to be. And like you heard from Tolu, Tolu says you're not here to, don't form. Don't come and you're not going to be forming for one person. You don't need it. You don't. Just be comfortable with where you are, what you're doing. I mean, if it's just one rented apartment you're staying at right now, do stay in that apartment. And if you have money to buy a house, buy a house. Don't say, I want to buy a Mercedes Benz because my classmates, I'm talking as an international student now, my classmates are already switching their cars to Mercedes Benz. Like, what would you profit a man to gain, to buy a Mercedes car that is worth what dollars, and you're still struggling with your life? Or buy designers and yet you don't even have money to pay for your textbooks. Like, we need to, like Tolu actually said, we just need to calm down sometimes. We just need to calm down. So I'm not going to make this event be longer than it is. If you do have any questions, please let me know in the comment section. It was great to have you guys join us on this live event. I would be having another guest and I would let you know when that happens. If you would like to be on my TV show to talk about or share your experience about moving to Canada, let me know. Shoot me a quick email, gracioustobehold@gmail.com. And all the information you need about Tolu will be in the description. You can find all the information on there. Please open up my description and get that information there on how to get in touch with Tolu if you want to know how he landed his great job and other things as well. So until I see you guys in my next video, which will be very soon. I make videos Wednesdays and Saturdays. If you're new here and you're watching this video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It's very important. So until I see you again, guys, please stay safe and bye.